Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and good afternoon to all of our beloved and respected viewers of the Voice of the Cape's Facebook page as well as the VOC's YouTube page. It gives me great honor and privilege to be introducing our guest for today, and it is none other than Miss Rahma Jabodien, and she is from the Futures Academy, and she will be giving over the discourse today, the preparation for all of the matriculant students who are writing their NSC examinations. She will be going through the content of Religion Studies, Paper 1, inshallah. Of course, this is the Voice of the Cape's annual Matric Revision program in collaboration with Futures Academy, SA's online high school. And without further ado, we call upon Ms. Rahma Jabodien to give over the discourse for Religion Studies Paper 1. And of course, as always, we remind all of you, our beloved viewers, to please share this link with all of the matriculants out there in the community who are embarking upon their matric examinations, their NSC exams. May Allah Almighty God Almighty grant you all the success to all the matriculants out there as you're preparing for your examinations. And for those who do religion studies today, this session is dedicated to you. Without further ado, we call upon Ms. Rahma Jabodien to conduct today's revision on religion studies, paper 1. All yours.
شكرا جزاكم الله خيرا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. I am Rahma Jabodien and I will be conducting today's Religion Studies Paper 1 Grade 12 Revision Program, inshallah. So, introduction. What is religion studies? It is the study of religion as a universal human phenomenon found in a variety of cultures. It is studied without favoring or discriminating and without promoting any particular religion. It leads to the recognition, understanding, and appreciation of a variety of religions with the view of developing religious literacy. So you might be wondering, why am I including what is religion studies while I am conducting or facilitating a grade 12 examination session? So many times our candidates become completely overwhelmed with the amount of content that they have to study for the examinations. It is so much content, it is so much information for them to sponge up in a very short period of time, and they completely lose fact of their own faculties that they can rely upon. So if I go back and I say, or if I read back, it is the study of religion as a universal human phenomenon found in a variety of cultures. That just brings us to South Africa as a whole. This is a country with huge diversity. We are people living with so many different races, living amongst each other and coexisting. So many different races, so many different religions, backgrounds, and so much diversity. So, what do? We have to coexist, and when we coexist, we have to be tolerant towards one another. That is a concept. When we are tolerant of one another, we have to have some sort of unity. There have to be some sort of unity for us to coexist within the different cultures that we are living in. That is another concept. We also have so much similarities within our society. Another concept. We have to be understanding of one another, so we have to have respect. We have to also rely on our religious identities in order for us to be confident in our differences. Differences being another concept. So I have mentioned a number of concepts, but it is simplified now because I am not thinking of it as content that I have to go and study. I'm not thinking of it as my file at home with a bunch of content of concepts that I have to go and commit to memory and I have to give back when I am writing my exams. No, I am completely relying on my own faculties because I now have comprehension of what those concepts mean to me as an individual living in a diverse society. Okay, so uniqueness, for example. When we say uniqueness, It means that in a religious context, it would mean a specific religion having its particular features that distinguishes it from other religions. Simple concept. Simple concept. Okay? It is studied without favoring or discriminating and without promoting any particular religion, meaning that when you are going to write your final examination, you have to write from a point of view where you understand what the South African Constitution says about religion. And also, you have to write from an angle where you understand that you cannot write from your religious background, but from religion as a whole. Okay, you cannot write from Islam, from the Islamic perspective, and base your um, responses on your faith. Okay, you have to understand that you are now writing a subject where you have to consider all religions and understanding all the religious concept and teachings. It leads to the recognition, understanding, and appreciation of a variety of religions with the view of developing religious literacy. And that is where coexisting comes into play. And when we understand these concepts from a place of implementing it in our own lives, it becomes less overwhelming because you have simplified it now. Okay? By now, you have specialized in two or more religions. The role of teachings in a variety of religions, the central teachings of at least one religion, oral, written, and contemporary sources in several religions, normative sources or traditions in one religion, and your secular worldviews. Once again, it becomes overwhelming because it's a whole lot of content and you are continuously reminding yourself that it's a lot. Simplify it for yourself. Understand, try and comprehend what are the roles of teachings, what is central teachings, and remember to specialize in not only two. If you are going to specialize in your religion of or religions of choice, I always advise. I have been a senior marker. I have been a marker for the NSC for the last 5 years. And I always encourage candidates when we do the exam preparation to please specialize in more than two religions. The reason for that being, if you are going to focus on or choose or select of the Abrahamic faiths, two of the Abrahamic faiths, right? Meaning either Islam, Christianity, or Judaism, and you select two of those religions, remember that it kind of restricts you in a way that you are now possibly going to be confused as to which approach or which Abrahamic faith to basically um, answer for. Okay, so I always encourage also include either ATR or you can include Hinduism or Buddhism as one of the religions that you specialize in. Okay, I mention the oral, written, and contemporary sources in several religions, that means that by now, from grade 10 right up to grade 12, the exam that you are going to be writing will have content from grade 10 right up till grade 12. Okay, and continue. The curriculum and assessment policy statement, CAPS, for religion studies outlines the nature and purpose of the subject religion studies. This guides the philosophy underlying the teaching and assessment of the subject in grade 12. The purpose. Examination guidelines is to provide clarity on the depth and scope of the content to be assessed in the grade 12 National Senior Certificate Examination in Religion Studies. It assists teachers to adequately prepare learners for the examination. The format of the question papers. The external examinations will comprise of two question papers of 2 hours each. The question papers have equal weighting and carry 150 marks each. The papers will assess the learner's knowledge of all content in grade 12, as well as knowledge of the subjects from grade 10 and 11. Content from these grades may comprise up to 15% of each of the two papers. That means that you can be caught off guard with something or concept or a question that was covered in grade 10. For example, clusters of religion. That might just be a question that pops up in your final examination, and it is just because 15% of the content that will be examined will have covered grade 10 and grade 11 content. Religion Studies Paper 1, examinable topics, grade 10 and 11 in grade 12. And this will focus on the major dimensions common to all religions, content covered from grade 10. Please note, each valid point will be allocated 2 marks. Okay, so each concept, each fact that you are going to put down, that you are going to answer will be awarded 2 marks. And I always encourage all candidates, always all learners, please grade 12s, when you are going to write down a response, make sure that you write it down in bullet form. I think they say it with you already because of the amount of times that you emphasize that. When you are going to answer, especially if it's a 4-mark question or 6 mark, 8 marks, please always for religion studies, answer in bullet form. It makes it easier for the markers also to easily pick up your responses and marks. Okay, for example, a 10-mark question will require 5 valid facts. Okay, however, for section A of paper 1, only 1 mark will be awarded for each fact unless otherwise indicated. Paper 1, exam guidelines. Paper 1, candidates will be required to answer 3 questions, 1 compulsory question, short questions of 50 marks, and a choice of 2 out of 3 or 4 questions of 50 marks each. Section A is compulsory. In Section A, questions require answers that comprise 1 word and short paragraphs. This section also includes questions that require short explanations and brief descriptions. Question types include 1-word answers, true or false questions with reasons, matching items, and multiple choice questions. Please note, in this section, each fact carries 1 mark unless otherwise indicated. For example, I'll get to explaining exactly what this statement means. Section A, compulsory question of 50 marks. You are required to revise basic knowledge through working through question papers. And I know grade 12 teachers cannot emphasize it enough from the beginning of the year already. Please, pass question papers. That is your goal, because it actually opens you up to a world of content, and it also prepares you for exactly what the layout of your question paper will be. Create study notes on the major religions. The major religions are: number 1, Judaism; number 2, Christianity; number 3, Islam; number 4, Hinduism; number 5, Buddhism; number 6, African Traditional Religion or ATR; number 7, Taoism; and number 8, Baha'i Faith. This is an example of Section A 1.2, or how the question might look or could possibly be structured. Complete the following sentences by filling in the missing word. Write only the word next to the question numbers 1.2.1 to 1.2.5 in the answer book. Okay, so I always advise and encourage, when we do study sessions and teaching how to learn, how to study, then I always emphasize that, for example, if you are going to study them and you have your memo with you, you will, for example, study number 1.2.1, the mystical dimensions of Islam, that emphasizes certain unique rituals for guiding spiritual seekers into a direct encounter with God is. Now, you are sitting alone with that question paper. You don't need to look at the memo. So first, try and attempt to answer the question yourself. Okay, attempt to answer it with your own knowledge, with your own background, with what you think the answer might be. Okay, and thereafter, you check the memo. Did I answer it correctly? If you have answered it correctly, you tick it off as right. Now you continue on to the next question. When you do the same thing with the next question and you, for example, have it wrong or have it right, then you go back. So if each time you add, you go to 1.2.3, have the answer, check is it right or is it wrong, but then you go back again and start from 1.2.1. So by the time you have done question 1.2.5, you have actually then studied 1.2.1 5 times. Okay, because you have each time gone back and each time done the question over as if you're starting over each time. In that way, you are now committing information to memory that might not even come in the exam exactly like this, but it might be that it's being examined somewhere else in the question paper, then you have covered it. Okay, because religion studies content is extremely vast and you have no idea or you cannot foresee beforehand what could be examined. So rather, it would be a good practice to then study like in this way. Another example, 1.3, choose the words in each list below that does not match the rest. Write down the word next to the question numbers 1.3.1 to 1.3.5 in the answer book and give a reason why it does not fit. For example, red, yellow, circle, blue. There the answer is circle because the circle does not match. And the reason is the other three are colors. The same with the concepts. You will now then do exactly the same with the concepts and then write down your reason. Here it would be an example. Here could be taken where we allocate the mark for the correct answer. The candidate will get 1 mark for the correct answer, but if the reason is incorrect, then the reason will be marked obviously wrong. Okay. 1.4, another example of a possible layout of a question in section A. Choose a description from column B that matches the term in column A. Write only the letter A to F next to the question numbers 1.4.1 to 1.4.5 in the answer book. Do not use any letter more than once. So there we have from 1.4.1 to 1.4.5. You will not write the concepts written down in column A and then write the letters next to it. You will only write 1.4.1 and then choose the correct letter that will match with, for example, 1.4.1. You will then choose the correct letter that will match with traditional Hinduism, A or B or C or D or E or F. Okay. 1.5, indicate whether the following statements are true or false. Write true or false next to the question numbers 1.5.1 to 1.5.5. So 1.5.1 syncretism is a science of the interpretation of text. Now here's another example. If the answer or response is true and the answer is correct, you will be awarded 2 marks. If you have answered false, but you do not give a reason, then your answer will be, you will only get a mark for false. 1.6, in the context of religion, write 2 facts on each of the following terms. Here, I always encourage grade 12 learners, please. Sometimes candidates feel that they have to write something. Okay, they have to attempt to answer the question. If you do attempt to answer the question, just remember that go back in the question paper, go through the question paper, check that there aren't maybe little clues or hints for you so that you can be easily awarded on marks because it's sometimes in the question paper. Okay. Section B, 50 marks per question. Section B, answer 2 out of 3 or 4 questions. Questions focus on interrogating a range of sources such as texts, maps, graphs, etc., and include comparative questions. The required answers range from short responses to paragraphs. In this section, the topics to be assessed are as follows. Conceptual distinctions, for example, identity, uniqueness, unity, similarity, difference, and compatibility. Now I have already simplified it for you. You're not going to focus on, I have to commit a lot of information and concepts to memory that I have studied the dictionary meanings of. Now you're going to rely on your own faculties and think back. What is religious identity? What is religious identity? For example, many Muslims believe that the identity as Muslim form part is an essential part of their being and is exclusive to them. Now, again, I want to remind candidates, when you say me as a Christian, please refrain from doing that, or me as a Muslim, refrain from doing that and approach it as you will then approach it as in Islam, in Christianity, and then you will give your response. Okay, so a religious identity refers to a certain individuality that distinguishes a particular religion from other religions. So your religious identity is something that makes it own to you. Okay, so when you're going to write about the concept or the answer for the definition for a religious identity, please include the religion. Many times candidates lose the marks there. They have the correct answer, but they lose the mark because they did not say religious identity. Okay? Uniqueness means limited to a person or some object. It would also mean limited to a specific situation. Now your answer or response will be from a religious context. Okay, so in a religious context, it would mean a specific religion having its particular features that distinguishes it from other religions. So it makes it unique to Christianity, unique to Hinduism, unique to Islam, etc. Okay, so make use of an example that you can relate to. You do not have to give back a textbook definition. Please rely on your own faculties, rely on your own experiences. Okay, and then you give that response when answering your the questions on concepts. Unity. Different religions actively cooperate to achieve certain particular aims in society. Okay, so different religions are able to coexist peacefully, irrespective of the differences. So unity is something I mentioned earlier on, being united in South Africa as a country. Okay, so the teachings of Islam and Judaism concerning God are one in the sense that there are no serious differences between these religions on that topic. This would be an example of saying what unity is in terms of religion. Okay, similarity, it refers to features that are common in different religions. In Christianity and African traditional religion, they both recognize the existence of a supernatural being. Okay, so that would be a similarity that we would find within Christianity and ATR. Difference. Now, I can't emphasize this enough. When you're going to write what is the meaning of difference or give the definition of difference, yes, your answer will be 100% correct. It needs to relate to religion. So you will then say the difference is opposite of similarity. It can be used to differentiate between specific religions. Okay, you will say it can be used to differentiate between specific religions. So I can see the differences between Christianity. I can see the differences between Christianity and Judaism, or Christianity and Islam, Christianity and many other faiths. Or you can just, for example, say that if you're going to make use of Christianity, Christians believe that the Messiah has already come to the world, whereas those who believe in the Jewish faith are still waiting for the Messiah. So this will be a difference within the faiths. Compatibility. This means that some things are being compared in a religion context. So the religions have particular characteristics that are common, for example, the search for meaning and truths. There are many other concepts, grade 12, that you have to have studied by now. For example, dogma, the golden rule, agnosticism, atheism, etc. And you do not know which of these concepts will be examined. That is why I emphasize it more. I'll emphasize it more. Please rely on your own understanding. What have I already learned and what do I understand about these concepts, and bring religion in it. Okay, bring religion in it. Okay, so the appreciation of the uniqueness of various religions, religious teachings, religious freedom, human rights, and responsibilities. Okay, so for the religious freedom questions and the human rights and the responsibilities questions, candidates, you will be given a source. Okay, so when you are given a source, you have at your disposal information that you can use in your answers. Whether you are certain of it being correct or not, you rely on that source to provide you with something, with a point of departure, so that you can at least make sense of what you have read with comprehension, dissect what you have read. Dissect what you have read, meaning ask yourself, what does that mean? Make little notes on the text or on the source so that you can make use of it in your responses. What candidates have done before, and it is common that candidates do, they give repetitive responses. And that is also because they do not understand what is being asked. So you need to go and study how to read question papers. Okay, how do you read? How do you understand what is being asked from you? What does it mean to um, explain? What does it mean when you are asked explain the differences? Okay, or compare. Okay, or what is religious bias? What is the bias in the text? Was the writer bias? Okay, so these are the kind of concepts that you have to know how to understand. You have to understand so that you can know how to respond when you are answering the questions. Investigate media coverage on public issues that have religious implications. That would entail evaluating media coverage of religious issues, investigate factors influencing religious issues, and present findings. Okay, so investigating media coverage, that brings you to propaganda, and you have to now then also, you will once again be given a source. Whenever you are given the media question, you'll also be given some sort of a little piece or a source, and you will then in there also find out what is the angle of the examiner, what the type of questions that the examiner is asking you, and then go to the context and go to the text and find out see what you can use in the text in your responses once again. Media coverage and religious issues will always come back to discrimination. Okay, religious discrimination. Please know what is that. What does the South African Constitution say with regards to your religious rights? And that is something that you obviously have to study if media is going to be a question of your choice. It is a popular question. Most candidates choose it. It's most of the time question 3 or question 4. So when candidates do choose media as their question, I would like to request of you, please know what the South African Constitution says with regards to religious rights in the country. What does the Constitution say about religious freedom, discrimination, and also with media? You also have to then have your remember I mentioned your specialized religion that you have specialized in, and I'm using the word specialized because we are all as religion studies teachers and students, you take to one or two religions that you actually find interesting, and religion studies is an amazingly interesting subject. I love the subject. Okay, so when you have chosen that religion, for example, then you can apply what is the teachings of, for example, Christianity say with regards to now discrimination, because media coverage and religious issues not being covered in media and being hidden in media will directly go to what? It will go to discrimination, religious discrimination and religious bias. All right, so then you will have to be able to put forward what is the religious scripture say about discrimination and religious freedom and tolerance and coexistence and peace and love. Okay, it will all come back to those things. So then if you can make use of the religious teachings to back your argument when you are answering, especially those 8-mark questions, that is where we award you marks very, very freely, because remember, from question two to question 4 or 5, we are then in a large percentage of questions we are allowed to allocate marks that is not stipulated in the memo, because it would allow for any relevant responses allowed. That is what I'm speaking to now. Please, grade 12s, when I say any relevant responses allowed, please understand that you do not have to give back textbook answers now. You do not have to give back textbook answers now, but it must be relevant to the question. And once you understand what you all have been asked, you can now rely, like I said in the beginning and reiterating again, you can rely on your own faculties to then give good responses that can be accepted. Okay, so any relevant responses, because when we're sitting in that exam venues and we are marking your your question papers, we want to find that you have understood the question. We want to find that you have understood the question, and then we want to argue it. We want to say, this is what the candidate is saying. You know, you take it there where you really want to find the correct answer in your response. Also, I want to just mention, please do not leave out a question, even if you have to have a repetitive response, even if you have to, like really be creative with your response, as long as you just attempt a response. Okay. So present findings, also with media. That would mean that, guys, we're not going to go into what's currently happening, because it's overwhelming, and it affects the entire world. It affects the entire world. So the present findings, I always encourage all candidates, please know what's happening in the world. Know what's happening in the world. Know what media to rely on. Find out what are reliable sources. It is your responsibility as a citizen to find out. It is your responsibility to know where are the reliable sources that I can take my information from. Okay, because once you have done that, you can then make informed decisions with regards to your understanding and your response. Okay. Religion in areas of recent conflict in South Africa, Africa and the world. That is, brings me to what I mentioned before. We are not in the world with our eyes closed. We know the current conflict and turmoil that the world finds itself in. So you have to be able to have an opinion. Have an opinion. Okay, have an opinion and find out what is happening in the world, in South Africa, in Africa, and the world, because you will be examined on those things. Analyze the situation. When we say analyze, what does analyze mean? Okay, this is part of the things that I mentioned earlier on when you are asked evaluate, investigate, present, analyze. You must know how to approach those types of concepts or terms when you are faced with them in the question. Okay, so when we are asked to analyze the situation, you will now have to break it down. You have to say, this is currently happening. And again, once again, in areas of conflict, the conflict question, there will again be a source there. And we know already, we have the Iran-Iraq concept and topic has come up so many times in the question papers. And also, again, I want to just lay emphasis on, when we respond, we do not respond from an emotional point of view, but we do also respond from a understanding of why we are saying what we are saying. Okay, we back our answers with facts. We back our answers with facts, our responses. So then when we say we analyze the situation, in what ways is religion part of the problem? This is something that I want you to please go back to past question papers. Go back to past question papers and they will give you 8 to 10 responses that you can make use of, because you will now not only have to say in which way religion is part of the problem, because it will be a specific religion. It will not just be that question that is like that, like I'm reading it to you now. It will be in the text. You will have we've been facing with, for example, Judaism, and then you will have to say why religion is part of the problem. So when that is when that is in the text, when there is a specific religion in the text, but the question is, in what way is religion part of the problem? Don't make Judaism the problem now. And you'll say, yes, because in Judaism, X, Y, and Z. No, the question is, in which way is religion? They're not being specific with the question. They're not being specific. So you will make use of the question that the responses that you have studied, okay, in your past question papers. You will not go to, we have our understanding of everyone feels in their religion, they are the right religion, they're the right faith. So when we are feeling we are right, then someone else definitely has to, you have to be the wrong religion. So then it becomes problematic. Okay, so in what ways is religion part of the solution? Now we immediately go to our religion and we say, our religion is a solution, because now we lay down our religious teachings. So please be careful when approaching that type of responses, please. Conceptual distinctions, uniqueness, and religious teachings. Usually, question 1 caters to learners who are able to memorize and recall meanings of concepts. That means that you are able to study and commit things to memory, and then when you are examined on it, then you can recall it and give it back. I must also say that also it's not always the case. Sometimes learners can memorize things well and they can recall it well, but when they are examined on it, then they strike a complete blank. That is why I say understand it and simplify it. Simplify it to your life. Make it part of your day, because you are walking with this information. You are walking with it in every day. So just call back on those understanding of how you should approach your examination. Don't approach it with the idea of it's a lot of information to study. You're going to become overwhelmed. It's going to be overwhelming. So highly advisable, as it is also found in section A and strengthens basic knowledge of the various religions. So what I mean here is your concepts. Okay, or your concepts. So it is advisable to memorize the concepts and to study it, but also, like I mentioned, please may simplify it so that you can recall back on your own faculties. Conceptual distinctions in the context of religion is important to note. That means, once again, the different concepts that we have covered and more, you are aware of the fact that there are so many concepts. There are a lot of concepts. Okay, so you have to drill it, you have to drill it, you have to read over it and make little examples, speak to your friends, and make it part of your dialogue as well. Make it part of your dialogue. For examples, myth, parable, normative religious identity. Uniqueness of the various religions add to knowledge bank for section A and for paper 2. In other words, for section A, uniqueness is something that you will maybe be asked for, like a definition, like I mentioned before, and also in paper 2, that then you have basically have studied that part. Religious teachings include knowing the basic teachings of the various religions. Okay. So the subject contains 4 topics. So it's a variety of religions, the common features of religions as a generic and unique phenomenon, topical issues in society, and the research into and across religions. So when we are saying the religious teachings include knowing the basic teachings of various religions, it is just the fact that you have from grade 10 till now have studied religions. That is, you know already what are the different religions, and you know what information or content goes with which religion. Okay, So these three topics usually are merged into question 1. Section B, this is an example of question 2. Answer any two questions in this section. Okay, question 2, 2.1, explain the concept uniqueness in the context of religion. That is what I meant earlier on, and I explained it earlier on. Means limited to a person. It also means limited to a specific situation. And if you are going to answer uniqueness based on religion, you will say in a religious context, it would mean a specific religion having its particular features that distinguishes it from other religions. And then you will also make mention of a unique feature of a religion. Okay. Okay. So that is from 2 till 8 marks, short questions. Okay. Religious freedom, human rights, and responsibilities. So you refer back to the DBE 2022 self-study guide. It entails everything. It has all the information, a lot of notes that you can go back on. Okay, and like I say, make it compact. Make it compact for yourself so that you cannot feel it's too much. Please make it, listen it for yourself, because you will see there's a lot of information that is repetitive. Like for example, they'll mention 5 concepts here and then 2 there, and then, but it's the same question, so you don't know, must you leave or take. It becomes really overwhelming. So listen it, make the load, listen it for yourself, and then you just focus on one particular avenue for the day. For example, if you're going to study, if you today you're going to choose to study religious freedom and human rights and responsibilities, make sure then you are focusing on those type of questions and examples of old question papers. Learners who have strengths in recall and applying the knowledge should attempt this question. Okay, so if you know for a fact that you cannot remember information, you cannot recall back what religious freedom and human rights, according to South African Constitution, is, if you cannot do that for a fact, then maybe consider doing a different question. Don't just skip it in its entirety. Attempt it. I always say, I advise, attempt to take a look at it. Sometimes you didn't study it in depth, but just take a look at it. Maybe it's a little bit easier than the other questions, like the media question or conflict question. Main points to cover: sources available to promote religious freedom, relationship between human rights and religious teachings, relationship between religious freedom and tolerance. How does religion support religious tolerance? How does South Africa demonstrate religious freedom? Okay, so again, once again, I am repeating the fact that if you should attempt studying religious freedom, or the question you want to cover, please know your constitution. What does the South African constitution say with regards to religious freedom? And make sure that you have studied your religion of speciality, 2 or 3 of them, so that in the event that you do not know how to say or how to approach the question, you have options to rely on or to draw from. Okay. So the relationship between religious freedom and tolerance. So we want to be free. We want to be able to express ourselves, like the example of the mosque and the adhan being made, and then the neighbors having complained about the adhan, and then that being an issue in the community, and it leading to conflict in the communities. So how does the religion support that? How does the religion emphasize or approach tolerance? How does the religion that you have specialized in approach tolerance towards religion or faith? Okay, and then also, how does South African demonstrate religious freedom? That is a important question. Here's an example of question 3. Read the extract below and answer the questions that follow. Article 18 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights reads, everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. This right includes freedom to change their religion or belief, and freedom, either alone or in a community with others, and in public or in private to manifest, demonstrate their religion or belief in teaching, practice, worship, and observance. Okay, so here again, yeah, like I said before, there's your source. It comes from Shooters, Top Class Grade 12, page 171. So you are going to make use of the information that was given to you. What measures has South African government put in place to uphold the above declaration? Now you are going to go back and you are going to also mention religious freedom. You are going to mention what institutions or what the government has put in place to to ensure the safety of the South African citizens, ensure their freedom in terms of what religion and they want to express and how freely they can express it. The different ways in declaration applied in the Western and Eastern cultures. And also, when we say give two facts, now this is what I want to put, what I wanted to make emphasis on. They have asked you here what measures. So you stop, you just pause for a second and you ask yourself, how is this question formulated? They are asking what measures have South African government put in place. Just stop there and you ask yourself, what is being asked from me? What do I run? What do they want me to do? Okay, because they're not telling you here that they are that you must write down the South African Constitution in terms of religious freedom. They are not saying, candidate, please write down what does the South African. They are giving you. They posing the question in this way. They are saying what measures has South African government put in place. 3.2, they are saying explain. Explain means you can write down what your understanding is of the declaration and how it is applied in Western and Eastern cultures. And at the same time, you must give two facts of Western and Eastern cultures. So you can now explain the Western cultures declaration, and now you can explain Eastern cultures and how the declaration is applied in both. Okay, so it will be two each. 3.3, there are countries that do not respect Article 18. Name one such country and give details of how freedom of religion is violated. And for those things, you go back to your study guide, you go back to your question papers, and you choose. If this is the question that you have chosen, you choose. And you make sure that you study if you have chosen this as an option that you want to attempt this question. You make sure that you have committed to memory at least six facts per question. Like if I'll say by 3.1 at least 3, and by 3.3 at least 2. Okay, now we come to the 3.4 with reference to any one religion. There is your specialized question, religion. There it comes in. With reference to any one religion, whenever you are asked with reference to one religion, you go back to the religion that you have specialized in, because you will know the scripture that you can then refer back to or respond with. Okay, and that is always awarded marks very, very well. With reference to any one religion, discuss its teachings that promote human rights. It's a brilliant question. I love it when candidates when they choose that, because now I know it's the marking will be easy because they know. 3.5, what are the advantages and disadvantages of allowing people freedom to change their religion or belief? And that is clear. You do not have to. This is actually a question that when I did my per question analysis after the exams, I had an issue where candidates actually did not understand what advantage and disadvantage meant. Okay, so on grade 12 level, you don't expect a candidate to not know what advantage and disadvantage means. So I just maybe put emphasis on that. Please make sure that you understand how and what questions require from you. Media coverage on public issues that has religious implications. Okay, the application question almost always in article or text to derive answers from. So, in other words, lack of comprehension. There's a text there, there's an article there. You can find a answer for yourself there. Main points to cover include how does the media report on religious issues? This is going back to media. Okay, what are some of the factors that influence the media? How can the media neutralize stereotyping of religions? Okay, so I think, gone through the question of or the topic of media coverage on public issues that has religious implications, and we did mention, of propaganda and having the incorrect information and knowing where to find your reliable sources, how the questions will be posed, finding in your past question papers media coverage, and how to apply yourself and come up with good responses with regards to how media reports on religious issues. Once again, it comes back to discrimination. It's going to come back to bias, religious bias. That's going to definitely be your response. Okay. So when you see media coverage and you see religious implications, you know it's going to come back to religious discrimination and religious bias, and you have to have your backing, you have to have your evidence and your religious scripture, and you have to know what your religion of choice or your religion that you are specialized in, what it says on discrimination especially. Okay. Then how can the media neutralize stereotyping of religions? And there we have that question. It's, I must say, I always battle with this question, because always with the media question, the responses of the candidates for two of the questions always are similar. I've picked it up in three exams, past exams, where the responses for two of the questions in the media questions are similar because it is intertwined. Okay, where the candidate kind of have to explain the advantages, or they have to explain why religious bias exists within media. Okay, so if you are going to answer or attempt the media question, then just know that there aren't a lot of different responses that you need to worry about, or a lot of content. Just go back to your question papers, check, check, check for religious discrimination, for religious bias, for unfair, the whole unfair coverage, that unfair coverage for only negative things to be highlighted in religion. That is always in media. The negative things are highlighted in religion, and the positive things are hidden or played down. Certain religions are made out to be, like bad, or in a negative light to a large extent, and then others not. And the complete contradiction when it comes to certain coverage. Okay, they'll cover in this certain religion, they'll cover certain aspects. In the other religion, they will not. So that discrimination when it comes to media coverage. Example of question 4, read the extract below and answer the questions that follow. Christian response needed against threats to remove Christmas and Good Friday and holidays. Here again, once again, the South African Constitution permits for religious holidays to be public holidays, but it's only for Christianity. So this will then be a question where you have to then also, you make use of the information, but then also rely on your responses, because a lot of times you are asked for what do you think? Okay, you have to then, like for example, by 4.1.4, what do you think this quotation means? There's no right or wrong answer there when you are asked for your opinion. Okay, so here also straightforward, this is a comprehension. This question is a comprehension, meaning that the information is in the text, and then after having read and understood the text, you can now read the questions and then formulate your responses on there. Religion in areas of recent conflict. You go back to the DBE Self-Study Guide, Religion Studies Book 3, emphasis on conflict occurring in South Africa, Africa, and the world. This is something that I mentioned earlier on as well. Learners are to master analyzing at least one conflict in Africa and the world. For example, Darfur, Sudan, and the Israel-Palestine, that is happening. It's happening. The difference between inter and inter-religious conflict, immediately you know when you are told intra, that it is within within the religion, and inter will, like for example, intra will be in the same religion. So within Islam, for example, within Christianity, the conflict that exists within the religion, and inter-religion, that would then mean between. So it would be between Christianity and Islam. Okay, so you need to know what the difference is between inter, like inter schools, between schools, and then intra would be if you had to say within the school, like athletics or sport in the school. Okay, in what ways does religion form part of the problem? That is something I addressed earlier on as well. In what ways does religion form part of the solution? So here again, once again, I just want to repeat the I mentioned earlier on, so that if you are going to then um, be specific with the religion, but you were not asked in what ways does specifically Judaism, specifically Islam, then you give your answer that you have studied, and not make it. You do not use a specific religion to make example, unless you are asked make an example with a relevant example. Okay. Highly advisable that this question is chosen to the conflict question. It is a common question. So question 5, read the extract below and answer the question that follows. And it is the extract adapted from Wikipedia. So once again, it is, I'll read it back. In many ways, Uganda has started to become an African success story. It has turned the corner in the fight against HIV and AIDS and has a growing economy. Okay, so this question, once again, you have to know the concepts of interreligious conflicts and interreligious conflicts. And once you know what those concepts mean, you can then only have a response or a relevant response. Okay, so there they ask you at 5.1, Coney sees himself as a Christian visionary. What does this mean? There it is that only the entire sentence is a comprehension. It's you understanding what you have read. Okay, because if you know what a visionary means, then you can attempt the question, and it's 2 marks. To what extent is religious conflict? To what extent is this a religious conflict? That question you have already. You can already go and study it now. Okay, today. So please check all your 12 mark, 10 mark questions. Those are questions that you can study already before, before even wondering or thinking which question will you attempt. Those are straightforward questions, and it is long questions, essay type questions that is in your past question papers and in your study guide. So you can go and study that already if religious conflict is the question that you want to answer. Explain the following concepts and give one relevant example of each. There I mentioned it, intra and inter. What does intra mean? Conflict within the religion. And if you are going to make mention of intra, like the Sunni Shia within Islam, okay, that will be an example of inter-religious conflicts. And then inter-religious conflicts, it would mean between, for example, Judaism and Islam, and what is happening in the world. Okay. 5.5, South Africa consists of many different religions. Most have formal structures to liaise with each other and with the government. Name the organizations that represent the following religions in South Africa. And those are in your memos and in your study guide as well. Do you think religious conflicts? Once you're asked, do you think, that is your leeway to now apply what you have understood of the question. Okay, it must just be relevant to the question. So, in conclusion, I just want to once again say that I wish everyone luck with regards to the preparation for the exams. I do not want you to feel overwhelmed that it is too much. I know it is a lot of content, that is a fact. Simplify it for yourself. Rely on your own skills that you have attained over the years. You have done religion studies, whether you have only started this year or whether you have done it since grade 10. You have enough information and you have a you kind of have to rely on your own experiences and your own knowledge and apply it to the subject. So, in conclusion, I would just like to say shukran for the opportunity to have spent this session with you. And I wish all our grade 12s all the success with the examinations, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. We say shukran, jazakallah khair. Thank you very much. And terima kasih to Ms. Rahma Jabodien for giving over today's session, and that was dedicated to all the matriculant students who do religion studies and paper one specifically. I hope that all of the religion studies students has benefited greatly from today's discourse, and as our respected Ms. Rahma Jabodien had indicated her well wishes to all of the matriculant students. We also on our side on the Voice of the Cape wish each and every one of you, all the matriculant students, the very best as you prepare for your NSC examinations, and we hope that these sessions that the VOC offers, the matric revision sessions, are fruitful in helping and aiding and assisting you in preparing for your up and coming examinations. Once again, we wish you all the matriculant students all of the very best as you prepare for the NSC exams, and we hope that you take full advantage and use of these sessions at the VOC basically conducts in collaboration with Futures Academy, where we are adequately preparing you for your NSC examinations, inshallah. From our side, we wish you all of the very best. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This has been today's matric revision session, and particularly dealing with religion studies revision paper one. We wish you all of the very best until we conduct our next session, inshallah. We say to you, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.